For 3,000 years, the galaxy knew peace. Not because war was impossible, but because war had been forgotten. The Galactic Union, a council of thousands of species, had eliminated conflict through treaties, diplomacy, and economic control. It was a system that worked, until the day it didn't. Aliens had long believed that intelligence and war could not coexist indefinitely. Any species capable of interstellar travel would naturally evolve past the need for violence. Conflict, they said, was a relic of a primitive past. And yet, there was one species that never quite fit. Humans had joined the Galactic Union centuries ago, integrating into its laws, its culture, its vision of peace. But there was always something off about them. Other species, upon reaching the stars, had abandoned their old ways. Humans didn't. Their sports still involved simulated battles. Their entertainment was filled with war stories. Their exploration vessels were suspiciously well-armed. Even their economy thrived on concepts that other species had abandoned: competition, conquest, dominance. The Galactic Union monitored them carefully. At first, they believed humanity would change with time, that their warlike nature would fade. But centuries passed, and it never did. Some aliens feared them. The few species that still remembered war saw the warning signs. The way humans studied military tactics, even in a time of absolute peace. The way they spoke of contingencies, as if they expected something to go wrong. The way they never fully disbanded their armies, just gave them new names. But the fear never spread. The Union was comfortable, complacent. No one had fought a war in 3,000 years. Who would start one now? Then the Zalnak arrived. They were a new species, young and aggressive, a brutal warrior race that had never known anything but war. They had discovered faster-than-light travel only a few decades ago. But unlike other species, they didn't seek to join the Union. They saw a galaxy full of soft, weak civilizations and took what they wanted. At first, the Union didn't believe it. A war? In this age? It had to be a misunderstanding. But the Zalnak made their intentions clear. They demanded tribute, planets, resources, slaves. And when the Union refused, the Zalnak gave a simple response. They would take them by force. The Union panicked. Entire governments collapsed in fear. Some species surrendered without firing a shot. Others begged the Council for leadership. But the Council had no plan. For thousands of years, their power had come from negotiation, not war. So they turned to the only species that might have an answer: humans. When the Council demanded an emergency meeting, expecting humanity to offer solutions, strategies, or at least pleas for protection, they got none of that. Instead, the human representative laughed. It wasn't nervous laughter. It wasn't the laughter of fear or uncertainty. It was genuine. The Council was speechless. Every other species was preparing for surrender or annihilation, and here the humans were, laughing. Finally, the Council's High Speaker asked a question on everyone's mind. Do you not understand? This is war. The Zalnak would show no mercy. The human representative wiped a tear from his eye and leaned forward, voice calm. You think we don't understand war? The room fell silent. We've never forgotten war. We never stopped preparing for it. And if the Zalnak want to test us, he chuckled, well, they have no idea what's coming. The Galactic Union refused to believe what they had just heard. For centuries, they had assumed humanity had embraced peace like the rest of them, that they had outgrown the need for war. But the way the humans spoke, the confidence, the amusement, this was not the response of species facing annihilation. It was a response of a species that had been waiting for this moment. The Union dismissed it as bravado. They still believed in diplomacy. Surely, the Zalnak could be reasoned with. Negotiators were sent, peace treaties were offered, trade incentives proposed. The Zalnak responded by executing every diplomat they were sent. Broadcasted across the galaxy, their message was clear: surrender or be destroyed. The Union's panic grew. Their fleets were symbolic, their defenses ceremonial. Entire civilizations prepared for evacuation, convinced they could do nothing but run. The humans didn't run. They didn't panic. They didn't even prepare defenses in a way the Union understood. Instead, they sent out a single message. 3 words. We are ready. That was all. No request for aid. No pleas for help. Just those words. Simple and unshaken. The Union tried to understand. Ready for what? They had seen Earth ships, scientific vessels, cargo transports, diplomatic envoys. No real war fleets. No dreadnoughts. No armies. The Union had ensured that every species dismantled their military centuries ago. But the Zalnak weren't interested in understanding. They launched their first strike. A small border world, defenseless, peaceful, was wiped out in hours. Millions dead. No resistance. No fight. Just annihilation. The Union froze. Humanity moved. While alien governments held emergency meetings, debating how to surrender, Earth's forces went silent. Their ships vanished from public records. Their communications ceased. The Union demanded answers, but none came. Then, as the Zalnak fleet advanced, something strange happened. Union outposts, far from the war front, began experiencing anomalies. Sensor stations went dark. Ships reported seeing strange shadows on long-range scans, moving too fast, disappearing too quickly. And then, the first Zalnak warship simply vanished. One moment it was in formation. The next it was gone. No explosion. No distress signal. Just empty space where it had been. The Zalnak ignored it at first. A malfunction, maybe a hyperspace accident. It didn't matter. Then another ship vanished. Then 5. Then an entire scouting fleet. No wreckage. No transmissions. No sign of an enemy. Just ships disappearing into the void. The Zalnak High Command demanded answers. Their intelligence reports provided only one chilling detail. The disappearances only happened near human space. The Union was watching too, trying to make sense of it. No one had ever seen warfare like this before. No grand battles. No visible fleets. Just an invisible force, tearing into the enemy without warning. When the Union finally confronted the human representative again, demanding to know what they were doing, they were met with an infuriatingly calm response. This is just the beginning. The Union still didn't understand, but the Zalnak were beginning to, because for the first time in their history they were afraid. The Zalnak were done playing games. The disappearances had shaken them, but they were a warrior species, bred for conquest. Their answer was simple: overwhelming force. They gathered their full war fleet, a massive armada of dreadnoughts, carriers, and planet-cracking weapons. A force designed to crush entire civilizations in a single campaign. And they set their sights on Sol. The Galactic Union watched in horror. There would be no negotiations, no peace talks. The Zalnak were bringing extinction to humanity's doorstep. Except humanity wasn't worried. The Union expected to see evacuations, desperate pleas for help, a last stand. They saw none of that. Earth didn't even acknowledge the invasion. The system looked empty, silent. The Zalnak fleet arrived at the edge of the Sol system and advanced with caution. There was no resistance, no defense fleet, no planetary shields. The humans had left themselves completely exposed. It was almost insulting. Then the first Zalnak ship exploded. Not from enemy fire, not from sabotage. It simply tore itself apart, metal bending and cracking as if an invisible hand had crushed it. Then another ship followed. Then 5. Then 10. Panic spread through the Zalnak ranks. They scanned the system furiously, searching for the enemy fleet. There was nothing. No warships, no bases, nothing visible at all. Then the whispers began. The Zalnak crew started reporting voices over their comms. Human voices. No transmissions, no signals, just words appearing inside their ships. One message, repeating in every Zalnak language. You should have stayed in your borders. And then the real war began. From the dark side of the moon, from within gas giants, from inside hyperspace lanes, humanity's fleets emerged. Warships that had never been registered, never been acknowledged. These were not exploration vessels. These were monsters. Dark-hulled ships with no windows. Silent engines that emitted no traceable energy. weapons the Union had no name for. The Zalnok opened fire first, unleashing their full arsenal. Nothing hit. Human ships moved in ways that defied physics, as the space itself bent around them. Missiles curved away. Energy beams scattered into nothing. Even when Zalnok weapon connected, the human ships barely flinched. Then humanity fired back. It wasn't a battle. It wasn't even a massacre. It was erasure. The first Zalnok dreadnought was folded on itself, crushed into a singularity, and swallowed into the void. The second was hit by a kinetic round moving at a fraction of light speed, passing through it so fast that the ship was dead before its crew realized they'd been hit. The third? It simply vanished, as if it had never existed at all. The Zalnok fleet broke. Their commanders, trained for brutal, honorable combat, had no answer for an enemy they couldn't even touch. They tried to retreat. Humanity didn't let them. They hunted the survivors down, one by one, picking them off like prey. There was no mercy, no prisoners. The Zalnok had come to conquer. Instead, they had found something far worse than war. And for the first time in 3,000 years, the Galactic Union realized why humans had been laughing. The war should have ended there. The Zalnok fleet was annihilated, their commanders dead, their dreadnoughts reduced to wreckage, floating in the cold void. The few survivors that managed to escape fled with terror in their eyes. But humanity wasn't done. The Galactic Union, still in shock, pleaded for peace. The Zalnok had been defeated. There was no need for further bloodshed, no need for retaliation. The human response was cold. You think this was war? No, this was a message. Across the galaxy, human fleets that had never been acknowledged revealed themselves. Warships that had been hidden in deep space, camouflaged within asteroid belts, lurking in the shadows of gas giants. Every species in the Union watched horrified as Earth's military, the military they believed didn't exist, decloaked all at once. The Zalnok homeworld was next. The Union sent frantic messages to humanity, begging for restraint. The Zalnok were beaten, humiliated. Their people would never recover from this loss. There was no need to destroy them completely. Humanity gave no response. Then the attack came. No grand fleet, no planetary invasion, no armies marching through the streets. The sky above the Zalnok homeworld simply split open. One moment, their world was whole. The next, something vast, unimaginably vast, descended from hyperspace. It wasn't a weapon. It wasn't a ship. It was a warning. A structure larger than moons, black as night, covered in shifting patterns of lights and symbols that no one could understand. It emitted no signals, no broadcasts. It simply existed. And then, without a single shot fired, every system on the Zalnok homeworld died. Energy grids failed. Gravity fluctuated. The air itself became heavier, pressing down on the terrified population. Their ships wouldn't start. Their weapons wouldn't function. Their technology, so advanced, so powerful, became meaningless. Panic turned into hysteria. A proud warrior race, reduced to helpless animals, clawing at the dirt, screaming into the sky. The structure hovered there for 3 days. And then, just as silently as it had arrived, it vanished. The Zalnok would never rise again. The Galactic Union, once so confident in its ideals, in its belief that war had been erased from the universe, was forced to confront a truth they had ignored for too long. Peace had not lasted for 3,000 years because war had been forgotten. It had lasted because humanity had allowed it to. And now, the galaxy understood. The next time war came, the next time some foolish species believed they could conquer, the next time anyone dared to challenge the quiet, patient force that had lurked beneath the surface of peace, humanity wouldn't just laugh. They would end it.